He can settle down and be doing just fine till he hears no train rolling down the line. Then he'll hurry straight home and pack, and if he didn't go, I believe he'd blow his stack. Sometimes it's hard, but I understand when the Lord made him, he made a rambling man. Some folks might say that he's no good, that he wouldn't settle down if he could. But when that open road starts to call him my baby, there's something over the hill that he's gotta say. Sometimes it's hard, but I understand when the Lord made him, he made a rambling man. I know he loves to see the towns are passing by, and to ride those rails 'neath God's blue sky. So let him travel this land, from the mountain to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe God meant for my baby. And when he's gone, and at his grave I'll stand, I'll just say, God, come home, my rambling man.
All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is Traditional Tuesday here on Downpour Radio. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, as always, Lightning Luke. Thanks so much for joining us. We have a great show today. It's Traditional Tuesday, like I said, here at DPR, and we'll be playing traditional and traditionally influenced music throughout the show. Then a little later on, we'll be checking in with our good friend Clyde McGee and talking about the ins and outs of Spotify. I know that sounds a little dense, but I promise it's much more interesting than the lead-in sounds. And we're going to be talking about how artists can use playlists and the algorithm to build up their listeners and following. And if you're not an artist, we're also going to be talking about the ways that you can support different people on Spotify and the best ways that you can do that to lift up your favorite band on Spotify using all of the gadgets and gadgets that they have over there. That and much more on today's episode of Downpour Radio, but first, let's keep the music flowing. We opened the show with Ramblin' Man by Lulu and the Black Sheep. That's off their Hard Times EP that came off last year. And up next, we have our good friends, the Tejon Street Corner Thieves, playing a live version of the classic nursery rhyme and folk tune, You Rascal. That's off their 2019 album, Live at the Western Jubilee. We'll also be having the Tejon Street Corner Thieves on the show tomorrow, of course, because we have another Downpour debut scheduled for tomorrow from 2 until 5. As usual, when we do our regular show, Tejon has a brand new track that comes out on Thursday, and we will be debuting it, and the only place you will be able to hear it until Thursday is tomorrow, right here on Downpour Radio. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, I'm Lightning Luke, and once again, this next track is a wonderful one for you. This is You Rascal, played live by our friends the Tejon Street Corner Thieves off their Live at Western Jubilee album. Once again, this is You Rascal by the Tejon Street Corner Thieves, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Well, I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. I'll be glad when you're dead with a bullet in your head. Glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. Well, I let you in my home, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. Well, I let you in my home, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. Well, I let you in my home, wouldn't leave my wife alone. Glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. You asked my wife to wash your clothes, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. You asked my wife to wash your clothes, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. Asked my wife to wash your clothes, something else, I suppose. Bad when you're dead, you rascal, you. You asked my wife for a meal, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. You asked my wife for a meal, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. Asked my wife for a meal, something else you tried to steal. Bad when you're dead, you rascal, you. I'm gonna put you 6 feet deep, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. I'm gonna put you 6 feet deep, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. Gonna put you 6 feet deep, no more chicken will you eat. Glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. I'm gonna put you in your grave, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. I'm gonna put you in your grave, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. When you're dead and in your grave, no more women will you crave. Glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. Well, there ain't no use to run, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. No, there ain't no use to run, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. Well, there ain't no use to run. I got my Gatling gun. Glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. And I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. Rascal, you. I'll be glad when you're dead with a bullet in your head. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you.
Well, yeehaw, everybody. That was the Tejon Street Corner Thieves off their album Live at the Western Jubilee. That was You Rascal, a wonderful, wonderful old track, and we're going to be highlighting all sorts of old tunes, traditional tunes here for our Traditional Tuesday episode of Downpour Radio, a weekly series that we've started to run here. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Let's keep the music flowing. That was the Tejon Street Corner Thieves, and up next we're getting over to our friends, the Urban Pioneers. This is Hillbilly Swing Music off their album Hillbilly Swing Music, an original tune with a lot of traditional influences, and that fits right into our theme of Traditional Tuesday here. Without further ado, let's hear the Urban Pioneers. Once again, this is Hillbilly Swing Music off their album Hillbilly Swing Music that came out back in 2018, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
We call it hillbilly swing music, or western string music, mixing the Texas with a East Tennessee music. Cowboy boots and overalls, let's all have a ball. I walked into a beer joint just the other day. A man come up and asked, what kind of music do I play? Is it more rocky top, is it more faded love? I looked him in the eyes and said, all of the above. We call it hillbilly swing music, or western string music, mixing the Texas with a East Tennessee music. Cowboy boots and overalls, let's all have a ball. Yes, Liz, now. Texas.
He's the little Tennessee.
When we get together, we make some kind of sweet. If you want a square dance or a tune, a two-step too. Turn up the music, your feet know what to do. We call it hillbilly swing music, or western string music, mixing the Texas with the East Tennessee music. Cowboy boots and overalls, let's all have a ball. One more now. Call it hillbilly swing music, or western string music, mixing the Texas with the East Tennessee music. Cowboy boots and overalls, let's all have a ball. We call it hillbilly swing music, or western string music, mixing the Texas with the East Tennessee music. Cowboy boots and overalls, let's all have a ball. Yeah, cowboy boots and overalls, pretty girls with some girls, barbecue and that ain't all. Let's all have a ball.
Well, folks, that was the Urban Pioneers playing hillbilly swing music off of their album of the same name. Thanks so much for tuning into Downpour Radio. We are here with Traditional Tuesday, and we're going to keep things rolling with our friends King Strang and the Stranglers off of their self-titled album that came out last year. This is an old classic called Let's Misbehave, an old traditional jazz tune sung by our good friend King Strang, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Alright, everybody, that's Let's Misbehave by King Strang and the Stranglers. Of course, not by King Strang and the Stranglers, but an old classic traditional jazz tune that we like to play here all the time here on Downpour Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I'm still your host, Lightning Luke, and we're going to keep things rolling next. This is not quite a traditional tune. It's an original, but it is by a very traditionally influenced artist, our good friend Possessed by Paul James. and you're going to listen to Be at Rest off of their new album, which came out in January. The album was called As We Go Wandering. The track is Be at Rest, and the artist is Possessed by Paul James. I'm Lightning Luke, and thanks so much for tuning in to Downpour Radio. Once again, Be at Rest by Possessed by Paul James off their new album As We Go Wandering, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Tell me your name or your occupation. Tell me, do you believe in war? Or when they send you off to battle? Or do they tell you what lies there in store? For there are battles, oh, in these classrooms. Oh, there are battles, oh, in these hearts. And if we don't start to work, oh, together, man, this whole damn thing will fall apart. This whole damn thing will fall apart. I said, oh, friends, come gather round. Another brave soul lies in the ground. Oh, these mothers and these fathers, these sisters and our brothers, lift up your voice, sing us the chorus. Lift up your voice, sing us the chorus. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Lay down sword and shield, oh, and be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Lay down sword and shield, oh, and be at rest. I don't pretend, oh, to be a brave man. Oh, in my heart I know it's true. But we were taught, oh, to lend a helping hand. It's the right thing to do. For there are battles, oh, in these classrooms. Oh, there are battles, oh, in these hearts. And if we don't start to work, oh, together, man, this whole damn thing will fall apart. This whole damn thing will fall apart. I said, oh, friends, come gather round. Another brave soul lies in the ground. Oh, these mothers and these fathers, these sisters and our brothers, lift up your voice, sing us the chorus. Lift up your voice and sing us the chorus. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Lay down sword and shield, oh, and be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Lay down sword and shield, on be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Oh, be at rest, oh, be at rest. Lay down sword and shield, oh, and beat red.
That was Be At Rest by our friends Possessed by Paul James. Thanks so much for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. I am your host, as always, Lightning Luke, and we are going to keep things rolling with our edition of Traditional Tuesday here on Downpour Radio with our friends, the Fourth River Music Collective, off of their Street Folk Volume 2 Busking Songs album that came out way back in 2016. This is Lonesome Valley, an old traditional tune played by the Fourth River Music Collective, and again, you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to go there for yourself. Ain't no one here walking for you. You got to walk that valley for yourself. Yes, Jesus walked. Jesus walked that lonesome valley. You know he walked. Yes, he walked for himself. And no one else walking for him. He had to walk that valley for himself. Yes, there's a road. There's a road that leads to glory. That leads to glory. Through a valley far away, far away. And no one here can walk it for you. They can only point the way. You've got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to go there for yourself. Ain't no one here can walk it for you. You got to walk that valley for yourself. Yeah, Jesus walked. Jesus walked that lonesome valley. You know he walked. Desert too. Through the desert. And some say he is their savior. But he can walk that valley for you.
Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. That was our friends, the Fourth River Music Collective, playing Lonesome Valley off of their Street Folk Volume 2 album that came out back in 2016. I'm still Lightning Luke. Thanks for listening, and we're going to get over to our friends Clyde and the Mill Tailors here. This is off of their EP Root that came out back in 2017. Once again, this is Clyde and the Mill Tailors playing Which Side Are You On? That old tune that we love to play here on Downpour Radio. Thanks again for listening. I'm Lightning Luke, and this is Clyde and the Mill Tailors again playing Which Side Are You On?
Guitar or our songs, never taught me about what's right, never taught me what was wrong. One thing that she taught me before she left me behind is that she never wanna cross that Union's picket line. Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? My mother took me to the mine where workers were on strike. Have brought me scabs, brave unions fight. That policeman asked my mother to please step aside, where she threw her fist every rock around her she could find. Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Killing 20 in their sleep. Those soldiers following orders, those miners fighting for their rights. Those soldiers didn't know those miners had more than shovels and knives. Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or a thug for a Jake's player. So come on, workers, now take it how you can. Will you be a dirty scamp or will you be a man? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on?
That's Clyde and the Mill Tailors playing Which Side Are You On off of the EP Root, and we're going to get over to our good friend Blind Boy Paxton here. This is off of the music from the American Epic Sessions. American Epic, a series that was run on PBS and had a lot of amazing, more well-known artists on it, as well as some people off the beaten track, including this next one. A good friend of ours named Blind Boy Paxton. Once again, this is Blind Boy Paxton playing Candyman from the music from the American Epic Sessions, and you can find that just about everywhere. Once again, this is Candyman by Blind Boy Paxton, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Candyman, salty dog, Candyman, salty dog, Candyman, salty dog. If you can't be my Candyman, you can't be my salty dog. Candyman, Santa Claus, Candyman, Santa Claus, Candyman, Santa Claus. If you can't be my Candyman, you can't see my Santa Claus. Little red light, little green light, little red light, little green light, little red light, little green light. Stop on the red and go on the green. Don't mess with me, stay in between. Run, get the picture, get my baby some beer. Run, get the picture, get my baby some beer. Run, get the picture, get my baby some beer. Run, get the picture, get Run, get the picture, get my baby some beer. Run, get the picture, get my baby some beer. I wish I was in New Orleans, just sitting on the candy store. Big leg item, 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 big leg item. I love that big leg gal, God knows I do. Candyman, salty dog. Candyman, Santa Claus, Candyman, fattening hog. I'd give anything in this God Almighty world just to get that Candyman home.
All my trouble started walking through them swinging doors. I slightly tipped my hat and then I paced across the floor. I snapped and pointed fingers and I smoked my cigarettes. And I slowly did more things that I regret. And I started drinking till I thought I'd almost drown. Disregarded everything that puts you in the ground. In the ground. Well, I walked in 20 circles, I shook everybody's hand, smiling and laughing, getting free drinks on demand. Then I asked some questions about a man we used to know, and they told me how he's 6 feet down below. He departed, disappeared without a trace or sound. Broken hearted, I shed a couple tears and walked around. On the ground, well, I gathered all my thoughts and walked into the smoky haze. As I walked across, I saw a woman on the stage. Her hair was long and yellow, that it almost hit the floor. She was singing on a cello of a man who was no more. Then I started weeping like a willow in the breeze, wholeheartedly weeping till it brought me to my knees on the ground. all my trouble started walking through them swinging doors. I slightly tipped my hat and then I paced across the floor. I started drinking heavy, it was too late to turn around. If I knew I'd end up weeping on the ground, for I knew I'd end up sleeping in the ground.
Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. That was our friend Tommy Luke playing The Ground off of his album Life Ain't Hard that came out in 2018. Thanks so much for being with us. And up next, we're going to do something a little bit different. I've heard a couple of requests for songs that I actually know how to play, and I figured I would throw my hat in the ring, per se, and play a couple tunes here for y'all. In the theme of Traditional Tuesday here. And that last tune that we heard from our friend Tommy Luke is actually one of the examples of tunes that we like to talk about a lot here on the show, which is a song that kind of lifts the melody and the feel from another song and then writes a new set of lyrics over the top of it. And so we're going to kind of show you that last one. That was The Ground by Tommy Luke, but you may have been kind of familiar with that tune as well as an old tune by Marty Robbins called Big Iron. That goes a little something like this. You heard that melody, the da 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 da. It goes a little like this too. It will be to the town of Vegas, Freeston rode a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make him slip. For the stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip. And then, of course, they sing that melody again, that last line again. Just wanted to give you a little bit of the etymology and background to that tune, but we're going to keep going here with a little bit more here. We've had a special request from our friend Ty out there who's listening on YouTube, and they asked for the Elizabeth Cotten song Freight Train, which in fact I do know how to play myself, and rather than risk playing the Elizabeth Cotten version and having it get cut off of my live stream, I think I'm going to go ahead and play it myself. So without further ado here, I'm Lightning Luke, and this next song is Freight Train by Elizabeth Cotten. Let's see if I can get myself all set up here, and I think I got it. Thanks for tuning in. Freight train, running so fast. Freight train, run so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on. They won't know which route I'm going. When I'm dead and in my grief, no more good times here. I grieve, place those stones at my head and feet and tell them all I've gone to sleep. Thank you, everybody. That was Freight Train by Elizabeth Cotton by special request here on Downpour Radio. I'm also live streaming this performance over on Facebook, so if you're listening to this on Facebook and watching it as well, feel free to pop over to the link that I dropped in the description of this video, where we'll have the rest of Downpour Radio for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm going to play one more tune before I pop back over to YouTube and get back into our regularly scheduled program. Up next, I'm going to play an old Jimmy Rogers tune about going home, which I think is really hitting home to people now who are at home and stuck at home. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. I'm Lightning Luke, and this next track is Daddy and Home by Jimmy Rogers, and you're listening to it here on Downpour Radio. Your hair has turned to silver. I Thank you very much, friends. I'm Lightning Luke, and thanks so much for tuning in over on Facebook, and thanks so much for tuning in over on Downpour Radio. We're going to pop right back into our regularly scheduled programming here over on Downpour Radio, but we do appreciate you all being here. If you're on Facebook, click that link and pop on over. We've got a wonderful show here, and we're going to be talking with our friend Clyde McGee a little bit later on the show, and we've got lots of traditional sounding music until then, and we're going to keep the music going here with our good friend Bart Budwig here off of his album Whiskey Girl. This is a wonderful, wonderful old track called Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, of course made famous by the Willie Nelson version, along with his good friend, who I am forgetting the name of right now. Oh my goodness, this is going to drive me absolutely insane. Waylon Jennings! How could I forget Waylon Jennings? Waylon Jennings, of course, popularized this tune, Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, and you're listening to it here on Downpour Radio, the Bart Budwig version. Here, our good friend Bart. Once again, this is Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, played by Bart Budwig, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Cowboys ain't easy to love, and they're harder to hold. They'd rather sing you a song than give you diamonds of gold.
Lone Star belt buckles and old faded Levi's, and each night begins a new day. And if you don't understand it, he don't die young, he'll probably just ride away.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Don't let them pick guitars and drive them old trucks. Let them be doctors and lawyers and such. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. 'Cause they'll never stay home and they're always alone, even with someone they love.
Cowboys like smoky old pool rooms and clear mountain mornings.
Little warm puppies and children and girls of the night. Them that don't know him won't like him, and them that do sometimes won't know how to take him.
He ain't wrong, he's just different, but his pride won't let him do things to make you think he's right.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Don't let them hit guitars and drive them old trucks. Let them be doctors and lawyers and such. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. 'Cause they'll never stay home and they're always alone, even with someone they love. Yeah, they'll never stay home and they're always alone, even with someone they love.
Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. That was our friend Bart Budwig playing the old classic by Waylon Jennings. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. By Waylon Jennings, called Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, off of his album Whiskey Girl that came out back in 2012. Bart is a wonderful, wonderful musician who I had the distinct pleasure of playing a show with alongside Clyde McGee in Grand Junction a little while back. And we're going to keep the music flowing here with our friend Clyde McGee, and this is Clyde and the Mill Tailors playing live off their new Live Sessions EP. Once again, this is Clyde and the Mill Tailors off their Live Session EP playing Panzeram. Not a traditional tune, but a traditional tale of Carl Panzeram, who was not a very good guy, and we will let Clyde take it from here and tell you the whole story. You're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
child. Made him sharpen his knife on the innocent. Yeah, the shadows in that boxcar planted an evil seed. Hollow tree gonna cut you down. I wish the world had one there. I wish my hands were around there. I wish the world had one there. Wish my hands were around there. Oh, Leavenworth, Kansas, 1930. End of the road for pants and ram. Yeah, I killed 10 men the time it takes to kill me. Spit in your face, now bury me in gasoline. I wish the world had one there. Wish my hands were around there. I wish the world had one there. Wish my hands were around there.
Thanks for
Thank you.
listening, everybody. That was Clyde and the Mill Tailors playing Panzeram live off of their Live Sessions EP. Of course, not an old traditional tune, but very much influenced by an old traditional story, which is very in line with what Clyde does. His entire new EP was called Folklore, the last recorded EP, of course, the studio EP, I should say, and is all about different stories and tales from before. You should definitely check that out, but we're going to keep things rolling with our good friends at the Fourth River Music Collective. Once again, we're going to play another track off of their Volume 2 edition of Street Folk and Busking Songs. This is Red Rocking Chair, played by the Fourth River Music Collective, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Ain't got no
That was the Fourth River Music Collective, everybody, playing their version of Red Rocking Chair, an old folk tune and traditional number off of their Street Folk Volume 2 Busking Songs album that came out back in 2016. Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio. We've come to the top of the first hour of the show. Thanks for sticking with us. If you haven't already, go ahead and give us a like and a follow. We do really appreciate it. And even if you've liked and followed before, the like really does help on every single video. I promise you, we want to get into that YouTube algorithm a little bit more and see what we can do, spread around the love here. Thanks so much, everybody. And speaking of algorithms, we're going to be talking with Clyde McGee about how to use Spotify to your advantage if you're an artist, and how to use Spotify to help your favorite artists if you are not one who has music up there. He's going to be calling in about an hour here at the top of the next hour of the show to talk about that and a lot more, and we're going to keep things moving. In the meantime here, this one comes by special request from Sammy Evans out there on YouTube. Thanks so much for listening. This is Jake Orvis playing his version of Shady Grove and Gypsy Moon off of the album It's All Been Said that came out a decade ago in 2010. Once again, thanks again for listening to Downpour Radio. This is Shady Grove and Gypsy Moon played by Jake Orvis, and you are listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Stands and then laughs at me because she wants me to be as dead. Things only go fast. It was only 2 days ago. Just 2 days ago. If I could only go back to where I was 2 days ago.
wake and fear the fellow dark. Across the fields to feed the lilies. The swaying of the cedars cease their shift. But I hear this evening's evil calling. Come now, landlord, fill your cup. 'Cause in the morning you'll be sober. Oh, the prettiest girl is the one you loved and lost. The shiniest spoon is the one you're sucking sweet from. Ooh, black dog. Ooh, black dog. Ooh, black dog. He's hanging around my window. I said the shadow to the man. Lord, that you see me, it's no wonder. But don't you think too hard. No, don't you think too long. 'Cause these thoughts, they will rise and pull you under. But I said, shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, you shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth. Black dog, sing. Ooh, black dog, sing. Ooh, black dog, quit hanging around my window. Now said the man to the shadow, oh, you be now proud, somehow you're mighty. 'Cause can't you feel my boot? Ooh, it's on your neck. Now you feel I'm the only reason that you're breathing. Oh, but I'll pour my cup when I lay you at the bottom of the field to feed the lilies. Well, I'll be singing, ooh, black dog. I'll be singing, ooh, black dog. Sing, ooh, black dog. Quit hanging around my window. I said, quit hanging around my window. I said, quit hanging around my.
That was Three for Silver playing Black Dog by our good friend Benny Gilbert, who used to play in King Columbia. That was planned to be the title track of a King Columbia album until we all ended up touring on our own way and splitting up, as it were. But Three for Silver, went ahead and swooped in and grabbed that tune and made it the lead track on their album Blue Rain that came out last year. Three for Silver is a really, really wonderful, wonderful band from Portland, Oregon, and we're going to play another track by them as well here. They're not playing traditional tunes per se, but as you can hear, everything has a very traditional side to it, and if you listen deeply in those lyrics to Black Dog by Benny Gilbert, you'll find that it quotes from all sorts of traditional tunes and other bits and bobs that you can find along the way. I definitely say go listen to that tune again, write out the lyrics for yourself, and go on a little scavenger hunt, because Benny sure likes to draw from everywhere. He is certainly of the mindset that I am as well, which is that there is no such thing as stealing too much, and as long as you're not taking an entire tune and you're just making reference, it's okay. As they say, artists steal, amateurs imitate. And with that in mind, this is Born in Trouble by Three for Silver, a new track that came out on January 30th. Let's hear it right now on Downpour Radio.
Born in trouble.
but wing I spread. Upon emptiness I fed. But your world it gave me form and all the consequence that bore. Oh, your days gave me time as your loss took away what's mine. Let the roots crack the cement. Loose wires from trees so bent. The dam's first to let this break. Still I'll be waiting at the gate. Oh, but there's the Lambo in my side. On your towns I intend to ride. Well, you knew I'd be coming back. Ready and wearing a suit of black. Singing born in trouble. Oh, born to fate. As the spiders fly up, you are crushed at the gate. Singing born in trouble. Born to fate. Tell me how can a man find one good place? All seven trumpets I shall kiss, all seven seals I shall rip. I drink down your bowl of wrath, the sixth more coming down the path. Now what is it burned in the hearts of men that causes trouble to no end? It's our fate, you all cry as the sun crashes from the sky, singing born in trouble, born to fate. As the spires fly up, you are crushed at the gate, singing born in trouble, oh, born to fate. And tell me how can a man find one good place? Tell me how can a man find one good place? Tell me how can a man find one good place?
That's Three for Silver with their new track, Born to Trouble. You can hear that just about everywhere, like Spotify and everywhere else. And speaking of Spotify, we're a little bit away from talking to our friend Clyde McGee about how to take advantage of Spotify as an artist and take advantage of it as a listener as well. And we're going to talk about a lot of other things in addition to that. We're really excited to hear from our good friend Clyde, who's just about become the best friend this show has had. I believe this is the third time he's called in, and that is a record here so far in our third week of Downpour Radio. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Up next, we've got our good friend Blind Boy Paxton. Once again, this is off of his album Recorded Music for Your Entertainment that came out in 2015. Once again, I dropped my words a little there. That is Recorded Music for Your Entertainment by Blind Boy Paxton. And the track, as you may know, I played it last week. We're going to play it again. This is Lost My Appetite for Chicken by Blind Boy Paxton. You're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Sam Green was a man who loved chicken better than he did his wife. Take any chances for a chicken meal, the boy would even risk his life. Passing by a restaurant, he had an appetite like a horse. Said, I want me a 7-course dinner. I want chicken with every course. Well, he ordered fried chicken, roast stuffed chicken, chicken chop suey too. He ordered chicken salad, chicken pie, and chicken croquettes, and chicken stew. Waiter charged him $15 and it took his breath away. Well, he fainted when he went to pay the bill, but revived, you heard him say, said, I lost my appetite for chicken. These words the guy began to howl. Oh, no more you find a child a picking, or the carcass of a big fat fowl. Oh, pork chops are wrapped around my diet, and chicken ain't no more, my friend. I done lost my appetite for fowl. I done lost my appetite for chicken. They said the price you pay for chicken round here is a dirty, awful price. And if I can't get 'em cheap in the daytime, I'll get 'em free at night. While passing by the old chicken shack, he stole everything he found loose. He begun to swiping them files so fast, by mistake stole a goose. While passing by police shack, Goose began to quack, and the sheriff caught him there right on, with them chickens on his back. Judge sentenced that boy Samuel Green to a $1,000 bill. He was crying along and he was singing this song as they let him off to jail. He said, I lost my appetite for chicken. These words the guy began to howl. Oh, no more you find a child a picking on the carcass of a big fat fowl. Oh, pork chops are wrapped around my diet, and chicken ain't no more my friend. I done lost my appetite for fowl. Well, I done lost my appetite for chicken. Boys, I done lost my appetite for chicken. Oh, these words the guy began to howl. Oh, no more you find a child a picking or the carcass of a big fat fowl. And the pork chops are wrapped around my diet, and chicken ain't no more my friend. I done lost my appetite for fowl. Well, I done lost my appetite for CHICK. Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, why can't I, Lord? Why can't I? Everybody's out there having time with their smiles. Now don't understand why I'm so upset. Thinking it'd be to ease my head, 'cause everybody's out there having time. But why can't I? Yes, other day get something to eat. Now paid $8 for Daisy Street. And as soon as I get it in my hand, had it rolling on the floor all across the land. Yes, everybody's out there having a time. But why can't I? All right, yes. Why can't I, Lord? Why can't I? Everybody's out there having time with their smile. Now don't understand why I'm so upset. Thinking it'd be to ease my head, 'cause everybody's out there having a time. But why can't I get a look?
Off to work, gonna be late. This next time gonna see my face. Fuck you, boss, I'm out the door. Don't gotta be on your payroll. Everybody's out there having time. Why can't I?
Why can't I, Lord? Why can't I? Everybody's out there having time with their smiles. And I don't understand why I'm so upset. Thinking it'd be to ease my head, 'cause everybody's out there having a time. But why can't I now? All I do is moan. There's no missed calls on my telephone. Let's go downtown and find a dive with a few more beers, and I won't be crying, 'cause everybody's out there having a time. But why can't I? Yes. Why can't I, Lord? Why can't I? Everybody's out there having time with their smiles. Now don't understand why I'm so upset. Thinking it'd be to ease my head, 'cause everybody's out there having time. But why can't I? Here we go.
Alright, everybody, that was King Strang playing Why Can't I off of his new album, The Second Coming, and we played that track yesterday as well and talked a little bit about it, about how it came out of another traditional tune as well, and you may be surprised to hear that there's another little quote in there by the fiddle player, who I've heard is, a no-good scoundrel out there, and we're going to listen back a little bit to some of that fiddle solo and hear a little bit of the traditional quote that's in there. There is a little trick that we here in the jazz community called Salt Peanut, and it's basically when you don't know what to play, or if you just want to kind of have fun, and that's what we were doing there, want to have a little bit of fun with the audience, you start playing ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da, and everyone, of course, knows that that rhythm means salt peanut, and that comes from all those days where you would go see baseball games, they'd have concession stands, you'd hear people yelling out, hot dog, salt peanut, and you hear all sorts of jazz musicians quoting that over the years. We're going to listen back a little bit to that King String track and hear that quote in the violin solo. Let's take a look back in again.
Why can't I?
Here we go. Not right here, but it comes up right in the break. Salt peanut. Well, once again, that was the Salt Peanut lick that we wanted to just kind of highlight out there. Michael gave me one hell of a grimace, one hell of a look when he heard that that was what I played on his album. This is Salt Peanut. It was pretty fucking funny. But anyway, we're going to keep going on now. We played Possessed by Paul James a little earlier in the show, and we're going to play a track off of his new album As We Go Wandering up next, like we did before. This is a traditionally influenced tune that is, of course, original, as Possessed by Paul James is all kinds of old rootsy stuff, but writes his songs himself. This is I Come From Southwest Florida by Possessed by Paul James off of the As We Go Wandering album that just came out at the beginning of the year. Once again, this is I Come From Southwest Florida by Possessed by Paul James, and you are listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Well, I come from Southwest Florida. In the Gulf Coast waters, oh, as children we would play. And we would sing in the halls of People's Chapel. Call your county morning, Jesus Christ, why I was saved. Oh, in Southwest Florida. Well, my father comes from the barns of Pennsylvania. Yes, he was a chicken man, my mother, oh, a dairy queen. And they found love, oh, in paradise one morning. Covered bridges of the county leads its way to another dream. Oh, in Southwest Florida. Let's go back into the heart of every home. There may be bitterness, confusion, and dismay, but we will go along the Gulf Coast waters, in the Gulf Coast waters, oh, until the end of day, oh, in Southwest Florida. Well, my sister's songs can be heard in Colorado. Her daughters, oh, they dance upon the sun. And they found love in the red rocks and the canyons. Winter rain is flowing all along the Arkansas. And the water one and all, oh, in Southwest Florida. Let's go back into the heart of every home. There may be bitterness, confusion, and dismay, but we will laugh, oh, along the Gulf Coast waters, in the Gulf Coast waters, oh, until the end of days. Oh, as children we would play, oh, in Southwest Florida.
Don't you wanna feel just like a cloud when it's going down for me? You were so good in bed, broken nearly all the rules. Wear it around your head now, you fit together just like Oklahoma and Texas. Oh, daddy's money, honey. Daddy's money, honey, don't it always come in handy? You spend it all, you on pocketfuls of candy. He's giving you away, he's so sad to see you leave. Your new man's waiting, Lord, he doesn't believe. You were so good in bed, broken nearly all the rules. Wear it around your head now, you fit together just like Oklahoma and Texas. You were so good in bed, broken nearly all the rules. Wear it around your head now, you fit together like Oklahoma and Texas. Wear it around your head now, you fit together just like Oklahoma and Texas. Texas.
That's Joe Caplow playing Oklahoma and Texas off his new album Time Spent in Between that came out last year. Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. Before that, we heard I Come From Southwest Florida by Possessed by Paul James. That's off of his new album As We Go Wandering that came out at the beginning of the year. And we've come to the halfway point on Downpour Radio. Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got Downpour Radio from 2 until 5 every weekday from Monday until Thursday. And then we do, of course, our pre-show for the Coping with Dystopia live stream every Friday from 2 until 3. All of that is West Coast time, so do the math in your head. Tell me what time that is for you, and we're going to keep the music flowing here. Up next, we've got Dirty Mattresses by Mama's Broke off their album Count the Wicked. Once again, that is Dirty Mattresses by Mama's Broke, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
I've crossed 100 rivers today and did not feel a thing. So soft and weak and foolishly I think that I have wisdom worth another's time. I stand wide open, filled with disdain, as though I'm owed but long ago for someone else's sins. But equally disgusting is the warrior self-aware, gazing through the muddy water as though it were clear. No world-worn weary heroes, no wounds of war. We lay on dirty mattresses on the floor. All we want is like blood we flow through
clogging up the veins of filthy highways bleeding into cities with no names. Is it any wonder we cannot meet the eyes of those who've built a home we helped to ruin and deny? No World War weary roads, no woes of war. We lay on dirty mattresses on the floor. All we want is more. When I come across those with both feet on the ground, two strong hands who tell of some bright future to be found, I start digging myself stupid, digging way too deep, end up begging to be held just so I can fall asleep. No World War weary roads, no wounds of war. We lay on dirty mattresses on the floor. All we want is more. No cloaks, no masks, no necklaces of bones. You'll find no magic here. It's best to be on your way home. So get on home.
Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. That was Dirty Mattresses by Mamas Broke off their album Count the Wicked, and we are just coming around the corner as we think about talking to Clyde McGee here at the top of the hour about Spotify and all sorts of other fun stuff as well. I promise it'll be an interesting conversation, even though it'll include the word algorithm, which I know is not exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but I promise this will be a good way to learn how you can support artists through this very weird time using Spotify, and also if you are an artist, how you can use Spotify to help you in your time of need here during this very weird time. We're going to keep the music flowing here with our good friends Yes Ma'am. This is Dig Your Grave off their album Bless This Mess that came out back in 2015. Once again, Dig Your Grave by Yes Ma'am. You're listening to it here on Downpour Radio.
I got more bite than a baseball bat. Like my dog when it comes to cats, baby, I'm crazy. I'm just counting the days. Yeah, and I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. I'm gonna help you dig your grave. I don't want you, baby, hanging around. She boogied every man is in this town, and I know, little babe, I'm just counting the days. Yeah, and I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. I'm gonna help you dig your grave. Well, We're gonna grab my phone, grab my babe, tell little babe gonna be on late. Grab my drink and grab my phone, tell I ain't going home. I'm just counting the days. Yeah, and I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. Help you dig your grave. All right. Well, she rolled like a Chevy on a 40 turn. Tell little babe come home tonight. I stayed at live with a ponytail. Yeah, she's gone away. I'm just counting her days. Oh, slow down. I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. I'm gonna help you dig your grave. Yeah, that preacher tell the reason why ain't gonna heaven, honey, when I die. And I know, little babe, I'm just counting the days. Yeah, and I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. I'm gonna help you dig your grave. I'm headed south where the sun don't shine. Tell your babe, Lord, she's on my mind. And I know, little babe, I'm just counting the days. Yeah, and I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. I'm gonna help you dig your grave. Everybody. Well, it's him, I'm gonna call my name. I'm rolling harder than a passing train. Rolling up to Tennessee tomorrow, we back to New Orleans. I'm just counting the days. Yeah, and I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. Help you dig your grave. Well, I'm more pipe than a baseball bat. Yeah, I'm a dog when it comes to cats. I'm head down south with the sun will shine. Yes, she's on your mind. I'm just counting the days. Yeah, and I'm gonna help you, pretty babe. I'm gonna help you dig your grave.
Well, folks, that was Yes Ma'am playing Dig Your Grave off their album Bless This Mess that came out back in 2015. And up next, we have another request here. This one comes from Slim Chance out there. This one is Plow These Fields by the Haymarket Squares off the album Punk Grass for the People that came out way back there in 2009, a long time ago. This is Plow These Fields again by the Haymarket Squares, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
I will plow these fields and I'll grow something from this dirt. Yes, I will take a barren patch of ground and make it fertile earth. Then you will see that I've been right here. You will see that I have been right here. I'll do just like Granddaddy did and get a plow for this dirt. Throw some seeds onto the ground I'll grow something from this dirt. I will plow these fields and I'll grow something from this dirt. Yes, I will plow these fields and grow something from this dirt. I will plow these fields and I'll grow something from this dirt. I will plow these fields and I'll grow something from this dirt.
Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, and thanks for calling out those requests, folks. Up next, we have our friends, the Goddamn Gallows, playing Howlin' Wind off their album The Maker that came out in 2014. Not a traditional tune, but you'll hear it, and you'll hear all the traditional influences. Howlin' Wind, of course, a very traditional and common thread that goes through all sorts of old folk tunes, and we're going to weave that thread through our show right now. Once again, this is Howlin' Wind by the Goddamn Gallows off their album The Maker, and you're listening to it here on Downpour Radio.
Breathing, howling wind, it is speaking, howling wind, can blow my soul away. Howling wind, it is screaming, howling wind, it is singing, howling wind, got a message just for me, just for me, just for me, just for me. Got a message just for me, just for me, just for me, just for me. I got a message and it's sick.
I want to see the surfer rotting bodies in the midst of the summer. For your life I bring you death. You feel it coming with each and every breath. I am the thing that lingers in your room, the creator of destruction with descendants of the doom. I choose to live, who hurts, who dies, you. Too many sins you have your Jesus crucified.
Howling wind, it is breathing, howling wind, it is speaking, howling wind, it can blow my soul away. The howling wind, it is screaming, howling wind, it is singing, howling wind, got a message just for me, just for me, just for me, just for me. Got a message just for me, just for me, just for me, just for me. I got a message and it's sealed.
I am the flame of the fire. Over yonder while I burn with desire. Charred flesh with the blackened remains. You feel the torture, feel the anguish, feel the rapture, feel the pain. You are confused in this blessed land, but you'll never overcome it. You'll never understand why you must fall down deep into the void. Gotta kill all the people before we become destroyed.
Howling wind, it is breathing, howling wind, it is speaking, a howling wind can blow my soul away. A howling wind, it is screaming, a howling wind, it is singing, a howling wind got a message just for me. A howling wind got a message just for me. A howling wind got a message just for me.
Well, I went down to St. James Infirmary and I saw my baby there. She was laid out on that long white table, so sweet, so cold, so fair. Well, I went up to see the doctor. She's feeling very low, he said. Well, I went back to see my baby, and good God, she was lying there dead. So let her go, God bless her soul. Wherever she may be, she may search this whole wide world over and never find a motherfucker like me. Well, I went down to old Joe's barroom on the corner down by this way. They were serving drinks as usual, and all the usual folks were there. Well, to my left stood old Joe McKennedy, his eyes a bloodshot red, and he turned to the crowd in front of him, and these were the very words that he said. He said, let her go, God bless her soul. Wherever she may be, she may search this whole wide world over and never find a motherfucker like me. So when I die, won't you bury me in my high top sexy? Put a $20 gold piece on my watch chain, so the devil knows that that's any fair. 6 gamblers to carry my coffin, where chorus girls to sing me a song. Put a jazz band on the hearse wagon to raise hell as we roll along. So bring out the rubber ducky carriage, go ahead and bring out the pony and drive. 12 men going down to that graveyard, only 11 of them ever coming back. So let it go, God bless her soul. Wherever she may be, she may search this whole wide world over and never find a motherfucker like me. So now they've heard my story. Well, it's by another crowd of rumors. And if anyone ever should ask you, I got the St. James
Hey, thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. That is the St. James Infirmary, played by the Bridge City Sinners off their self-titled album that came out in 2016. And boy, that band's changed quite a bit since then. I think you can only find 2 of the same members. And oh no, I believe King Strang was on that one, actually. Strike that comment from the record. We're going to keep things moving forward here before we hopefully get our friend Clyde McGee on the line in a little bit. And, there he is. He's messaging me right now. We're going to hear from Clyde in just about 7 minutes. But in the meantime, let's go over to our friend Isaac Hill, who plays in the Hills in the Rivers and just had a new album come out and plays all sorts of traditional sounding music, like Jacob's Ladder that we heard yesterday on the show. And that was the third track off his new album, Elegies. And you can find that on the Hills and Rivers Bandcamp page. And we're going to listen to 2 tracks by Isaac Hill, actually. We're going to listen to the first 2 tracks of that album, Nothing Doin' and Temperance. You're listening to, again, Isaac Hill playing Nothing Doin' and then his song Temperance after that off his new album, Elegies, on the Hills and Rivers Bandcamp. And you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
I have fought to find the truth through the pleasure and the pain. This old yearning stays the same. Try and try all my might. When I go to sleep at night, will I wake up at dawn, or will I see another morn? If I opened up my heart, it would tear me apart. For to let down my guard, it would take the grace of God. It'd be more than I could bear for me to let you in there. All my vulnerable desires would be tinder to your fire. If I could speak the truth, it might be I cannot do really anything at all. Even let the banner fall, or surrender by the skill of my own free-ish will. Nothing doing, nothing done, whether I have lost or won. The seasons of my youth, I have thought to find the truth through the pleasure and the pain. This old yearning stays the same. So seek and ye shall find what's before and behind the forest of your mind, and all you think you know, it's not what it has seemed. And between you and me, there's nothing so discreet as a flame and a shadow. Oh, my heart, let me go. Oh, my head, don't wait until I'm dead to feed me the sweet bread of letting go. Push or pull, empty or full, wrong or right, fight or flight, here or there, unjust or fair, changing or still, do what thou wilt. I believe to be what you wanna be, you have gotta give it all absolutely. But when I care, it's always out of reach, and nothing else will do for me. Love, what is there to do for me? Push or pull, empty or full, wrong or right, fight or flight, here or there, unjust or fair, false or true, it's up to you to separate the truth from all the lies. You have got to see it from the outside. But if when I have tried all I can try, nothing seems to satisfy, love, what is there that has to die? I believe that to really succeed at getting what you want, you've gotta let it be. 'Cause if your life is a gift to be received, there's nothing else to do but be. Love, ain't nothing else to do but be. Will or fate, gateless gate, slow or fast, pathless path, long or short, effortless effort, lost or won, thy will be done.
Thanks so much for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. That was Isaac Hill, our friend from the Hills and Rivers, playing his track Temperance off of his new album Allegheny Elegies. And as promised, we're here at the top of the hour. He is the banjo player for the Bridge City Sinners and the frontman of Clyde and the Mill Tailors. He goes by Clyde McGee and also plays with Jake Orvis as well. Let's, without further ado, introduce our next guest, Clyde McGee. Clyde, how are you now?
Oh, not so bad. Thanks for having me back, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on the show. So we're here to kind of talk about a few things, but just first, how have you been doing? How's everything going over at the Flail House?
Flail House has been very, very well. Been working away at numbering some Escape from the Zoo albums.
That's right.
Kind of glad to get a break from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that counting from one to how many copies did we have? Did we have like a few hundred?
Oh man, we got you could find them all. We have about like I think the grand total of how many we're going to be holding here is going to be somewhere around like 900 copies of their newest album, Killicopter.
That's right. Yeah. 900.
Yeah.
Wow. And they look fantastic. I just saw
They
them
look
on Facebook
amazing.
today. They look so good. I mean, like all of the albums that we get at Flail always look really, really good. We go through, was it Cascade Record Pressing?
Yeah.
And they do really fantastic work, but I was just looking at those Escape from the Zoo records, and they just pop. Those things look fantastic.
Yeah, they even sound good too.
yeah, absolutely. The music sounds good as well. Well, cool. Yeah, thanks so much for calling back in. And we kind of had an epiphany over the weekend that I was hoping that we could talk about on the air here with some of the people who are listening. Both musicians and people who just like to support musicians would be interested to know a little bit about this. Clyde is kind of a, we'll call you a Spotify playlist guru, because you've developed, of course, a number of playlists yourself, including the Dark Folk and Americana playlist and the new Western and Indie Country playlist, which I've actually been picking through today, and also we'll be playing some of that tomorrow on our themed days here of Traditional Tuesday and Western Wednesday. I flipped it around a little bit of how we do it when we're on tour, but yeah, I've been playing stuff off of that, and I was wondering if you could maybe just talk a little bit about just the user-created playlists and how you kind of what your process is on that, both on the end of creating the playlist and also on the end of being an artist and trying to get your tracks onto those playlists.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been kind of interesting because God, I've been spending the last year kind of just like playing around and trying to learn how to use Spotify as like kind of this like I don't know backdoor social network into getting like actual plays, and it's been really interesting finding out how malleable the information Spotify or how malleable the information you could input to Spotify to kind of get this like response. And recently it was just like this website. I think it's just like I don't even know like the technical term what you'd call it. It's just it seems like a robot or an algorithm.
It's like an algorithmic site that also is like it's like an oh man, this is gonna be some crazy alliteration. It's an aggregate algorithmic playlist site that like, takes songs that are you go on, you describe it.
So it's like I think the site is called Every Noise at Once, and on Spotify it's kind of being projected through several platforms called Sounds, Spotify, Particle Detector. There's a few other accounts that I've discovered, and yeah, from what I could gather, it's like basically algorithmic generated playlists, which is a really interesting thing to like kind of be able to observe. I know that so there's like Spotify uses like artist radio to kind of like automatically generate like artists that would you would imagine someone liking it. It's the biggest thing like I guess like information is being used online today is to use like if you like this you'll probably like that, so here's this ad for that.
Right, and the way that it kind of puts those together based on not necessarily, it's not like someone's going through and listening and saying, oh, this is clearly a country song, this is clearly a folk song, and something like that.
Yeah.
It's more like they're looking at the data, or the algorithm looks at the data and sees, oh, this artist is often played by users who also listen to this artist, or they're on these user playlists like the one that you create, and then you kind of start building up a connection to those different artists. So even if you happen to, if you were somehow able to build up a playlist that had like a song by the Wu-Tang Clan and a song by Willie Nelson on it, and it was exclusively Willie Nelson and the Wu-Tang Clan, it would tell this algorithm that people who listen to the Wu-Tang Clan are big Willie Nelson fans as well. Of course, if that was the only information that it was fed, of course, with those bigger artists, it has a lot more information to draw from, but when you're an artist who's just starting out, having your music out on Spotify, you kind of have like for us, and as a good example, the two of us are in a bunch of Spotify playlists together. So what does Spotify see from that? They say, oh, these are related artists, so they put them up as related artists. But they also then are now through these particle detector and whatever sound of Spotify, whatever other name they're using for this company that was bought by Spotify, that kind of takes those. It takes those connections that they make and then makes Spotify playlists for
out of them. And what's interesting is that it's interesting is like how they're using this information and what other things that they're using actual other factors too than what I guess have been absorbed. Yeah, you could even I did some more digging, and there's they use a lot of information based on city. You could go in and find out what's popular in Portland, for example, or what's popular in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it shows like by the age, sex, demographics. There's a ton of information that is just like, I guess, like either gathered or hemorrhaged by the basic individual that could be picked up by this. And it's really interesting is like how deep it really, really goes is like this, and it's just like this kind of like broad strokes of I don't know, subcultures that makes it for someone who is curating a playlist or trying to get their own music out, for example. It just provides this like lit pathway, I guess, as an example on how to like really find where to put your music, where to go tour, what people are probably like listening more or less. It's because it just seems like, you know, like these platforms, like streaming sites seem to be the way people consume music nowadays.
Right.
So it's just really kind of gave this, I don't know, it's really been developing more and more in the last like 4 years of this, of
Definitely.
people becoming aware.
And I think a
But
lot
yeah,
of it, we talk about this kind of stuff, and it sounds really boring and technical
it
about the
is.
algorithm and stuff. And there is a side of it that is like that. But at the same time, that website, which I've dropped in our live chat here on the Downpour Radio live stream, if anyone wants to go check it out,
It's pretty cool. It's some
everynoise.com,
total
it's
nerdy stuff.
amazing. Yeah, and it's kind of weird how they block things together, but you can discover music. Like I've just been
Oh yeah,
clicking through it, trying to hear other people who sound like music that I play, and being
there's
like, oh, I
this.
should pair myself with these people because I want to get into these subgroups that I think I fit into. And also, if you're just a listener, it's fascinating just going through because there's just so much. Like for example,
So many.
the one that we just recently were added to is called the Sound of Western Americana, and within that subgroup, they have the Sound of Western Americana. That's the main playlist that they run, and then in addition to that, they have the Pulse of Western Americana, which is kind of more like mid-tier level bands, not necessarily on the scene. And then there's also the Pulse of Western Americana, which goes to our friend King Strang, who's leads off that playlist because kind of more in that mid-tier of things. And there's other things even, or other playlists beyond that. There's the Pulse, the Edge, intro, and the filter to the Sound of Western Americana. Those are all different playlists that have been, yes, determined by algorithms, but determined by algorithms based on what people are listening to. And the as a tool to artists, I think it's really incredible because you can use that info to try and build up your followers on Spotify. You can also, though, as a listener, just be clicking through and finding music, which I've spent a ton of time looking through in the last little bit. There's also for those of you who like folk punk, there is a folk punk subgroup, and of course 5 playlists along with that. There's New Orleans Americana, and 5 sub playlists along with that. There's, let's see some more they have here, classic Polish pop, which of course
See,
everybody here.
and that's what's interesting, and that's what's okay. That's a real interesting thing I've noticed about these playlists. And if you look at, if you go to the website of Every Noise at Once, and the kind of like first page is this like map, they explain how a lot of this algorithm is generated from actual sound files. So like timing, pitch, and like timbre and all that is considered as well. And what's interesting to think is if you go through those like classic Polish pop, you'll find a lot of music that has some similar musical qualities to say like the Western Americana, which has obviously been influenced by a lot of immigrant music, like music that came over like hundred some odd years ago.
Yeah.
So it's cool to not only see this historic, or like, you know, this current source of information being pulled back or being analyzed into like this current state, but there's actual like this like, I don't know, coinciding historical relevance of it too, of like where music came from and whatnot.
Right.
So it's an absolutely fascinating I don't know, server like or website or just
Yeah.
project in general.
Well,
But
the thing
yeah.
that I find very cool about it too is that I think there's like it's easy to have the reaction when you hear about anything that's run through an algorithm in music and
Yeah.
think like, oh, that's bad. Like it's an algorithm, it must not be, it's not human,
It's
not
a robot,
it's
and
a
robots are
robot.
not to be trusted.
Robots are not who I want to be getting my musical recommendations from. But really what it is, it's people who are who are making these connections and listening to these people. So for example, if you go in again to the Pulse of Western Americana, the first 4 artists on there are King Strang, Lightning Luke, Clyde and the Mill Tailors, and Beggars Canyon. A little lower on the list we find Lulu and the Black Sheep, the Lonesome Valley Pussyfooters, Phantom Note. These are all people who I've played here on the show who are in our very tight-knit scene, and because we have started to build a little bit on Spotify through our own playlists that we made ourselves, this
Information is
algorithm
being like fed back from us. Like, that's what's fascinating about seeing this, is like to see work that you've essentially, you know, put in to be replicated by a computer that's observed what you. It's like sending something down the tube and then seeing it come out the other end.
Right,
which is
and
like probably the best feeling as an artist or something.
and then also that too is that these playlists are, as I understand it, largely what Spotify um, editors look at when they're making their
Yes.
editorial playlists. And if you're not familiar with what editorial playlists are, it's pretty self-explanatory. But there are people on Spotify who curate Spotify's playlists, and those, of course, get hundreds of thousands of followers, in some case millions of followers, because they're pushed out on every platform. And so if you start seeing bands that you like on these algorithmic playlists, push them.
Go
Like, definitely
listen to
go
'em.
listen to them, listen to those playlists, follow those playlists, share them with your friends, get the word out there on that, because that information will also get picked up by Spotify that, these algorithmic playlists that are made by the company that we own, maybe this subsection is getting, Western Americana seems to be getting a lot more listeners right now, or folk punk seems to be getting a lot more listeners, or
Yeah.
here are some other ones here. Atenho. Wait, no, it's oh well, Deathgrass is on there. There's also
Yeah.
Czech folk. That's Czech as in the Czech Republic. So you can find all sorts of different subgenres. And if Spotify looked at the data and saw, look, a bunch of people are listening to this, we should make a Spotify editorial playlist based on this. And cannot understate enough how much it would mean to this scene for even any of the artists that we were just naming that are on these playlists to get put on an editorial playlist, because
it's an absolute game changer for especially during this time where we're like a lot of artists are not really able to tour.
Absolutely.
A lot of people kind of will knock Spotify or like the streaming platforms for how little music is worth on the basic level of like it's like one play of 30-40 seconds is probably worth about 0.000229, like but fractions of a penny. But it's amazing advertising, and it's an amazing way to get out there. And if you do get enough plays on it, it's like it adds up, and it's nothing to sneeze at.
Well, the other thing that we talk about with that is I think that there is a very justified anger at the music industry from music lovers and musicians, because it screws people. Like, it's not made to make it easy for the artist. But
oh, absolutely not.
you see all sorts of people kind of bigger names attacking Spotify, saying this is killing my album sales and I don't make as much money off of this. But it's kind of like the industry has changed, and while maybe an algorithm doesn't seem like the best way to find this information, that's based on data and based on what real people are doing, as opposed to the system that would have maybe been in place 30 years ago, where some fat cat smoking cigars in a back room somewhere decide this is going to be the next big boy band, and that sort of thinking is what made it incredibly difficult for artists to independent artists to make any headway in the music industry. And as things have changed and it's gone more towards data with the invention of streaming, I think that has really made it. Well, we look at Brit City Sinners as an example of that. Like, the reason that band has the traction that it does is because of the internet and because of algorithms and because people liked it and they listened to it, which the algorithms caught onto, and then it continued. Then they continued to feed it to more people who they saw through their algorithm would be interested in that music. And maybe that's not the personal touch that you want in music, but it's a hell of a lot better than a band like that putting something out on YouTube, having a bunch of people listen to it, but not having the right people, quote unquote, in terms of not having anybody at a record label or anybody who, a Billboard executive or whatever, listen. It's
definitely decentralized.
The romanticized view of, like, you go in and you fill in for the band because the guy got the laryngitis and can't play. And some big shot record executive walks in through the door and sees you.
Those days are over.
It could happen.
It's definitely not, like, romanticized. But it's not
what's
when it's
happening.
like And it's funny like to see that stuff. Like I don't know, as the Sinners had a moment like that in recently where it was just like, oh, there was definitely a record executive trying to schmooze the,
Oh
the
yeah,
lead
yeah, yeah,
singer,
yeah.
and it was like I think Michael said something to the effect. It was like, is this the part of the movie where like we all
Well, that
like
was me, yeah.
break up? Or, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was
I
like,
went
you
around
know,
when this record executive was talking to Libby. I was looking around. I was looking at it and like across the bar, talking to the rest of the band, going, "Isn't this the point in the movie where where some big shot comes down and tells the lead singer they don't need their band anymore, and then they go off on their solo career, and then they like crash and burn, and eventually end up embracing the band 20 years later, but." It
yeah,
would sure be nice
it's a
for us if we would stick around, and Libby, of course, was on our side. I
I'm
don't
pretty
mean
sure
to
it's a
be.
Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I'm pretty sure it's Rockstar feature with
Oh
Mark
man,
Wahlberg. It's
speaking
just
of
like the Judas Priest story. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
uh,
Great movie. Great
yeah,
movie.
great, great movie. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, we that kind of covers a little bit of what we wanted to talk about here, and the thing really I want to emphasize for musicians is it's worth putting time into this stuff because it really
Yes.
can grow your following and give you some reliable income, even if it's a small amount of income. And also that Spotify and using Spotify to grow your following this way is very DIY and a good way of doing it that like is the reason people attack Spotify is because record labels don't like Spotify because
Yeah.
record labels are not needed to distribute your music in the same way they were before Spotify. And it was hard to get your music on iTunes. Even when that happened, it was impossible to get a record deal. It was just a really lucky few who got to really get their music out there, and those people, a lot of them were deserving, and a lot of them just happened to be in like the first hip hop band that was recorded was just a band that was busking on the side of the street, and they
Yeah.
were like laughed at by the rest of the community.
Sugar Hill Gang.
Hippity hop, and like that was there was this whole community, but some record executive happened to see this band, and so they're the one who got a record deal instead of some of the groups that we ended up knowing as they grew further and further. And this is kind of a really cool DIY way that you can support people. And since a lot of the musicians and most of the musicians we play here on the show and the artists we're talking about don't have a label, they get 100% of the money that comes through Spotify. It's not a lot of money, but it's all theirs, and it's not
Yeah.
going through a third party or anything like that. And it's a really good way to support musicians right now. Just pop on one of these playlists, like the algorithmic ones we talked about, the New Western, or the Sounds of Western Americana, or also one of the playlists that Clyde made, like the New Western Indie Country playlist, which is wonderful, and the Dark Folk and Americana playlist, which is also incredible, or the Flail Records playlist that has exclusively Flail bands, or the alternate folk playlist that's curated by Scott Machad of Flail Records, or you can even listen to the heavy rotation playlist from Downpour Radio that I made myself, and throw that on while you sleep and turn the volume down, or play those playlists over and over again, because not only are you helping give a little bit of money to those artists, you're also solidifying those connections and solidifying them in the algorithm. So really,
It's inputting. It's definitely a more valuable thing, especially for starting out artists, to have that information inputted at an early stage. It's because for that, I mean, it's like if you, it just that information retains a lot more. It takes a lot longer for, say, like if you have someone like you said earlier, if someone who like Wu-Tang Clan and Willie Watson. So say we had a friend that was just like that's all they listened to, and Willie Watson or Wu-Tang was starting out. It's a terrible example, I guess, but it's the hypothetical information that is being inputted in there. Just like that, it takes a lot more information to get that information taken down from what I could gather.
Right.
But I could be wrong. It's a lot of guesswork in Spotify right now, just
Right.
because I don't work at Spotify, which
And
really want to take a trip.
nobody who's really trying to do this does. So it's all guesswork and trying to figure
Yeah.
out what the algorithm likes. And I feel like we got, we're out fishing in the waters of Spotify, and we got a bite finally.
That's definitely how it feels. I also like the analogy of mining for playlists or other
That's right.
artists. There's just
Yeah.
so much to dig through. There's just like I found so many bands through these Spotify generated playlists that I was just like so thrilled, and I went to go check them out, and I was like just astonished to see how few followers or monthly listens some of these amazing talented artists have. It's just like, and you look at the information on them and just like fans they also like it. It's just it's like it's all very obscure to me, and it's just like, and yeah.
We can also see very quickly the impact of getting these bands on playlists and pushing those playlists. Like
Yes.
Lulu and the Black Sheep is a good example of that, as a band that had a lot of word of mouth going for them, and then started pushing themselves on these playlists a little bit more, and then you see them reach a whole new audience, which is really fantastic to see. And that's happened to a lot of people, including you on your music, and you mentioned mining for tracks, and I'm going to use that as a wonderful segue to put a close to this interview, and we're going to listen to Clyde's song, Miner's Song, off of his EP Folklore. Clyde McGee, thanks again so much for calling in and sharing some of your wisdom here. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Luke. It's good talking.
Yeah. Take care, Clyde.
Will do.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into Downpour Radio. We just heard from Clyde McGee talking about Spotify. Hey, I told you that wasn't going to be as boring as it sounded like it was going to be. We're kind of like trying to pull a John Oliver here and taking something that's not very interesting and make it entertaining. But I really think it is interesting because it's a really solid way that you can help musicians. That website, which I've put in our live chat, you could spend weeks going through that website finding new music. It's really incredible, and you can just search in, for example, you can search in a musician that you like. It'll tell you what subgroup they've put that musician in, and then show you a bunch of people just like them, and then you can go to those artists and see what artists are also in that same category. And it's really fantastic to be able to see these sorts of things, and as both a music appreciator and listener, and also as a musician, I can't stress enough how important it is to stress your favorite musician's music on Spotify and iTunes and just about everywhere you can find it. All right, we'll quit the blabbing here, because that was about the longest talking section we've had here on Downpour Radio, and I'm looking and seeing that you've all pretty much stayed with us, so I really appreciate you listening to us blab on and on here. And without further ado, we're going to get back to the music here. We're in the home stretch now of Downpour Radio, and we're going to keep the music flowing. This is Miner's Song by Clyde and the Mill Taylors. You're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
Men came here and they dug their hole, drained the entire night sky to the ground below. Stars down there, oh, they shine like gold. Yeah, the money shines like pennies at the company store. Shore in your shovels, clean your gun, feed your horses on apples, make sure the whiskey's done. I laid the wire, I set the clock, boy did I fly. Heard the Tommy knockers laughing when the blast filled up my eyes. Touched our eyes, the alarm smoke bastard's money now, buried in its tomb.
That was Minor Song by Clyde and the Mill Tailors, and we just heard from Clyde McGee, who was talking about Spotify playlists and all sorts of interesting stuff about the Spotify algorithm and how you can both grow your following as an artist on Spotify, and I don't mean that in a kind of like sales pitchy kind of way, but genuinely a DIY way that people can help themselves reach more people with their music, and also as a listener how you can support all of your favorite artists. So really glad we could have Clyde on the show. Thanks so much for listening to Downpour Radio. Like I said, we're in the home stretch here, and that was Minor Song by Clyde and the Mill Tailors. And speaking of Spotify playlists, I'm going to drop our heavy rotation playlist into our chat here. And sorry for the radio silence there while I type that out. Boom, it's in the chat right now. Our regular heavy rotation playlist. Go and give that a follow on Spotify, and you can listen to Downpour Radio and take it with you at all times, even if you miss some of it here. Thanks so much. And Holy Locusts, who are all filled with old-timey music. When I went and stayed on their bus in Austin once, when we happened to be going through the same area, in fact, Clyde was with me then, as was King Strang, we stayed on their little school bus that they've modified into a tiny home and stayed up until about 4 in the morning every day playing old-time tunes. Everything they play has some influence from old-timey music, and we're going to keep you informed and keep you listening here on Downpour Radio. Up next, we have Holy Locust off of their EP Limbs Appear. This is Don't Come Knockin', once again, Don't Come Knockin' by Holy Locust. I'm Lightning Luke, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
From the gods which you pray, so try to put shackles around my wrist, but shackles on these wrists just don't ever fit. So 7 times tried and 7 times failed. Oh, just something about this boy just cannot be jailed. So as he turned to walk away, I these last words he heard me say: you can chain me, contain me, and you can't take me. Oh, I got something on my sleeve. I got something that you won't believe. So don't you come knocking on my door. Knocking at my front door. I said, preacher, what you knocking on my front door for? He said, you've been bad, you live a life of sin. How time you start worrying about the end. Well, Jesus can keep his wine, I'll drink that whiskey. I walking on this water ain't got nothing to do with me. See, sin's my business and mischief's my game, and nothing you can say is gonna change my name. So as he turned to walk away, at these last words he heard me say: you can't roll me and you can't scold
my front door. I said, taxman, what you knocking on my front door for? He said, you've been bad, you ain't paid your due. I'm here to make sure that it is you who lose, but that cash is just paper, and that gold just a rock. I'm getting real tired of this money talks. You can tax me to your heart's desire, but I'll be throwing them dead down into the fire. As he turned to walk away, I need the last words he heard me say. You can tell me and you can sell me. Hell, you can't even tell me. Oh, I got something up my sleeve. I got something that you won't believe. So don't you come knocking on my door. I said, don't you come knocking on my door. One more time. I said, don't you come knocking on my door.
Thanks for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. That's Don't Come Knockin' by our friends Holy Locust, and you're hearing it here on our traditional Tuesday edition of Downpour Radio. That was the 30th track we listened to, and that means it's time to hear from our sponsor. We here at Downpour Radio do our best to try and help you drown your sorrows through the depressing times we're in right now, and there's nothing that really helps you drown your sorrows more than a big bowl of mac and cheese. Mac and Cheese, proud sponsors of Downpour Radio. Mac and Cheese, mac it up, everybody. All right, we're going to get back to the music here on Downpour Radio. That was our friends Holy Locust playing before. That was their track Don't Come Knockin', and we're going to keep things rolling here with our good friends, the Tejon Street Corner Thieves. This is 44 off their album Every Last Drop. Once again, 44 by the Tejon Street Corner Thieves. And you're listening to it here on this traditional Tuesday edition of Downpour Radio.
Well, I am drunk now. Well, I am loaded. I got my 44 cocktail ready to go. Well, I'm a drunkard. Well, I'm a sinner. I am no good, living way down low. My baby left me 'cause she ain't happy with the man I turned out to be. So I said goodbye. I told her good riddance. I'll be whoever the hell I wanna be. 'Cause I am drunk now. Well, I am loaded. I got my 44 cocktail ready to go. Well, I'm a drunkard. Well, I'm a sinner. I am no good, living way down low. My mama told trunker. Well, I'm a sinner. I am no good, living way down low.
That's our friends, the Tejon Street Corner Thieves, playing 44 off their album Every Last Drop. And hey, Tejon has a new track coming out on Thursday, but you don't have to wait all the way until Thursday to hear it. You can hear it right here on Downpour Radio. It's tomorrow, and I can give a little spoiler away here to keep with the theme of telling people I'm not supposed to, about things I'm not supposed to tell them. The track is one hell of a banger. It is a song that I guarantee you, whatever you have in your head right now, I'm sure it sounds fantastic, but by this time tomorrow, you will be singing Lay Low by the Tejon Street Corner Thieves all the way until your grave. I guarantee you this song will get stuck in your head in the best way. Tune in tomorrow at 2 p.m. for a little bit of a taste of the Tejon Street Corner Thieves' new recordings. We're going to be debuting that track at the top of the first hour of the show, and we're also going to be trying to check in with our friends, the Tejon Street Corner Thieves. They'll tell us a little bit about the song that they are putting out and other songs that they've got coming out afterwards that we hope will also be able to debut right here on Downpour Radio. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We are coming right to the end here, but we're going to keep music flowing here. We've been listening to traditional music all day, and we're going to keep that going up right now until we hit the buzzer. This is our friends Folk Faces playing Degenerates and Deviants, a wonderful track off of their album Fat Ol' Rat that's chock full of traditional sound and music. But, of course, it's all original music as well by our good friend Tyler Westcott, who you can find on Facebook on the Folk Faces Facebook, and you can also find him on the Kinfolk group on Facebook, sharing all kinds of wonderful new music over there, just like we like to do over here on Downpour Radio. I'm still your host, Lightning Luke, as always, and without further ado, here is Degenerates and Deviants by Folk Faces. You're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio.
I'm alive, I'm breathing, and my mind is clear. Covered in blood, I'm not screaming. I'm a newborn filled with fear. What I don't understand scares me. I could look, but instead I'll turn away. Reason I serve my comfort. I'll be happy and ignorant for all my days. Oh, the world is evil in my lack of experience. It's filled with people, degenerates and deviants. No, you can't change me. I am scarred by the unknown. Please allow me to be deceived. Go away, leave me alone.
Folk Faces playing Degenerates and Deviants off their album Fat Ol' Rat. Our love goes out to Tyler Westcott if he's out there as well. Hopefully he still is. And up next, we're going to keep things moving before we come to the buzzer here. This is Urban Pioneers playing Muddy Roots off their album Addicted to the Road that came out back in 2014. We listened to Urban Pioneers at the top of the show, and they're probably the most rootsy roots band we're going to hear today. And here's their song, Muddy Roots. Muddy Roots by Urban Pioneers here on Downpour Radio. Thanks for oh man, I am stepping all over my words here. Let's try that one again. Muddy Roots by Urban Pioneers off their album Addicted to the Road. Once again, that's Muddy Roots by Urban Pioneers, and you're listening to it right here on Downpour Radio. There we go, I got it that time.
Labor Day again, I get to see all my friends. Gonna have a good time, yes sirree. I drive 1,000,000 miles just to see those pretty smiles. Muddy Roots at Cookeville, Tennessee. Gonna pick guitars and mandolin, doghouse bass and fiddling. Yeah, I'll be there with a banjo on my knee. Singing, dancing, clap your hands, find yourself a new favorite band at Muddy Roots at Cookeville, Tennessee. For most of the year we're behind the wheel, push down the pedal as we run. Yeah, my golf cart blew a tire, so I set the thing on fire. Jake's gonna be pretty mad at me. When it rains it gets muddy, so come find a buddy. Muddy Roots at Cookeville, Tennessee. Drinking water from a bottle, better lay off the throttle if it came from Four Finger Louie. When the sun goes down, the moon shines all around. Muddy Roots at Cookeville, Tennessee. For most of the year we're behind the wheel, push down the pedal as we roam. When we walk through those gates, we feel at home. Pedal as we roam. When we walk through those gates, I feel at
Well, folks, the storm clouds are parting, and it looks like this storm is on its way out, and I am too. Thanks so much for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. I'm your host, as always, Lightning Luke. We'll be back tomorrow with our Downpour debut with the Tejon Street Corner Thieves, their new track, Lay Low. We'll be playing that in the first hour of the show, and then we'll be getting on with our theme, Western Wednesday, tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in for our traditional Tuesday edition of Downpour Radio. Of course, as always, don't forget to lock up on your way out, and don't forget to like and subscribe on the way out, too. And hey, if you like Downpour Radio, share it around to your friends. We've got the Tejon Street Corner Thieves on live tomorrow, and tell your friends to come listen, too. I've been Lightning Luke. Thanks so much for being here, and without further ado, we're going to close our edition of Traditional Tuesday with our friend Matt Pless. This may not be a traditional tune, but it's based on a traditional tale. This is Matt Pless playing Nero, his new single that came out earlier this year. Once again, Matt Pless playing us out, playing Nero. Here we go, watching Rome burn down and playing the fiddle. That's what I'm going to go do here right as soon as the show ends. Thanks again for listening to Downpour Radio, everybody. I'm Lightning Luke, and without further ado, here's Matt Pless to play us out with Nero.
In the dawn of desperation, when the peasants are beheading every emperor with a golden crown, first they'll stand with one another, then they'll turn against each other under thunder on a battleground. With with their torches, tar, and feathers, off to round up all the witches on a rail to run 'em out of town. In a kingdom that's collapsing, I'm relaxing on the ashes, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. You can dance around the fire with the hand that holds the power, or go cower with the gagged and bound. While the vultures count the profits and the hawks are launching rockets in a garden growing mushroom clouds. You can storm the ivory towers, but the knight in shining armor's days are numbered on the body count. So I'm laughing up at heaven in the arms of Armageddon, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. You can find me playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. You can find me playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. Where the tricksters and the grifters and the rich carnival barkers sell their sulfur to a spellbound crowd, buying tickets to the promise of a better world to come, and left with nothing when their hope runs out. There's a lifeboat overflowing on a rising violent ocean in the darkness where the sailors drown. But I'm smiling on an island by the tidal wave horizon, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. If you're screaming in defiance, are you David or Goliath when the riot rages all around? Call it vengeance, call it justice, call it progress, call it selfish. Either way, I'm gonna have my doubts. Maybe I'm just causing problems, thinking I know how to solve them, so for once I'm gonna shut my mouth. Waiting silent in the shadows like a devil at the crossroads, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. You can find me playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. You can find me playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. While the charlatans are shouting propaganda on the mountain, truth is spoken to an empty house. If you ask for my opinion, are you trying to make a difference or find something to complain about? When indulgence and consumption leave a landscape of destruction where it's far too late to turn back now, I'll be moving on my own way down the existential highway, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. You can find me playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down. You can find me playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down, playing fiddle, watching Rome burn down.
You've had the world in your hands, and now